So good morning or good evening or good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for coming to this webinar. My presentation would be in a sense complementary to the presentation of Tyler that was more focused on the humanitarian purpose of mapping, and the presentation by Aldo that was focused on the educational aspects of Mapathon. I will give you some technical background on OpenStreetMap and how you can organize your own Mapathon with OpenStreetMap. Before coming to that, a couple of words about our lab. As you know, we are one of the labs of the Geo4O network. The name is GeoLab, which stands for Geomatics and Earth Observation. We are a multidisciplinary and multi-department group here at Politecnico di Milano in Italy. Basically, we do a lot of things related to, in general, the collection and the processing, the management of Earth observation. This is our website if you want to know more about us. In few words, what we do is using Phosphor-G for a lot of applications, both web applications, virtual globes applications, apps, and also some desktop processing tools. About the many topics of research, I would like to mention here VGI, Volunteer Geographic Information, and Geocrowdsourcing and Citizen Science, because this is very related to the presentation of this webinar that is about OpenStreetMap. Okay, so OpenStreetMap, OSM. What is OpenStreetMap? Probably most of you already know what it is, but I think that this kind of introduction can be useful. OSM is today the most popular project of VGI. It was founded in 2004 in UK by an idea of Steve Coast. It was initially only limited to UK and only limited to streets, as it is OpenStreetMap. But over the years, it has become the most complete, the most diverse, the largest, and usually the most up-to-date geospatial database in the world. Well, OSM is a map made by volunteers, and in fact, if you look at this wiki page that shows you the statistics of OSM, you will see that today there are almost 2.5 million of registered users to OSM. In order to contribute to this project, you don't need to have any particular knowledge or specific skills or geospatial capacity. I mean, you need just to have you just need to love maps, just need to contribute with the data that you are able to collect, or with information, with the things that you know from your daily life, for instance. The good news is that all the data contributed by all the OSM users are openly licensed. The license is the ODDL, the Open Database License. This license basically gives you the freedom to use, to reuse, to share, to redistribute the data for any purpose, even commercial purposes, even to produce derived works from the database, provided that you respect some conditions. For instance, just to mention the most important one, every time you are using OSM data, please do not forget to mention to attribute the authorship of this data to the OSM contributors. If you want to read the full text of the license, just click on this link. Okay, in order to contribute to OSM, you need first to create an account, because any change made by any user will be stored forever in the database. So also the history of all the edits is stored. Once you have created your account, you need to get started with one of the many OSM editors. Well, at this page, you will find the full list of editors. There are really many. And there is also a comparison table between the editors. Here I just included 3 of them. These 2 are the most popular ones. There is ID, which is a very simple editor. It works on a web browser, so you don't need to install anything. It is very suitable for beginners because it's easy. Then there is CHOSM, which is an offline editor, so you need to download it and install it on your machine. It is more complex than ID, but also much more powerful. So this is really useful for experienced users. Then I also mentioned Vespucci here. I think this is a great editor, not just because the name is Italian, but also because it is an Android app that allows you to contribute data to OSM while you are on the field. So you are on the field, you see something, you want to add it to the OSM database, you will do it instantly with this great application. A couple of words about the data model of OSM. Any OSM object is the combination of two parts. As they are vector data, we have geometries and we have tags. Geometries can be of three types. There are nodes. Nodes are single points. There are ways that represent ordered lists of nodes, and they can be polylines when the initial and final nodes do not coincide, like it happens for roads, for instance, but they can be also polygons when the initial and final nodes coincide. So closed ways or polygons can be, for example, buildings, can be lakes, and so on. And then we have also relations. Relations are logic groups of nodes, polylines, and polygons. I will show you an example in a minute. We have geometries, and as I said, we have tags. A tag defines the attributes of the objects, and tags are composed of keys and values. Just to make an example, if you have a building that is used as a hotel, the tag that you have to use is building, that is the key, equal to hotel, that is the value. What if you need to map something else? I don't know, you need to map a road, you need to map a park. Well, if you just click on this page, you will access this wiki that is probably the most important page for any OSM contributor because it lists all the possible tags, all the possible keys and values, and it explains in a very detailed way when you should use or when you shouldn't use a specific tag. So if you plan to contribute to OSM, give a look at this page because this is really fundamental. It contains everything you need to associate the right tags to the objects. These are examples. So we have a node that represents a parking and that has as a tag amenity equal to parking. This is the tag that the references suggest. We have an industrial building, so the tag is building equal to industrial, and here we have a road having two tags. The first specifies the type of road, and the second one specifies the surface of the road. And this is also a very typical example of a relation that is a bus route. A bus route is a relation because it includes more ways, so one or typically multiple ways representing the route of a bus, plus all the nodes representing bus stops. And as you see here, we can have attributes also associated to a relation. So the type, that is route equal to bus, and then the name of the bus route. Okay, but how can you actually collect data? There are basically three ways of mapping. The first is what I term normal mapping. Normal mapping means that you basically know an area, you physically go there with some specific tools like a GPS receiver or a field paper. Field papers are a great tool for outdoor mapping. You can have a look at what field papers are by clicking on this link. The idea is that you go there, so you know that area, you survey that area, and then you come back to your office and you add the data using an editor. The second way is the opposite, because you can map an area that you know, but you can even map an area that you don't know. It can be on the other side of the world, and this is what happens for humanitarian purposes. So you simply use some aerial or satellite imagery, and you draw things. You draw objects on top of this imagery. You draw roads, buildings, rivers, everything that is visible from an imagery. Of course, there are things that are not visible from an imagery, and this is why some volunteer that physically go on the field is useful. But armchair mapping is useful as well, because if there is nothing mapped in a place, like it sometimes happens for humanitarian purposes, volunteers from all over the world can map it, so can create a map in really few time. There is also a third way of mapping, and this consists of simply uploading some datasets that are available with a compatible license into the OSM database. This is a very tricky operation. It can be potentially very dangerous and typically should be done by experienced people, not absolutely by beginners. It can introduce a lot of problems in the database, and typically is a long operation that should be discussed in advance with the local or regional or national OSM community. So the suggestion, if you are a beginner, is not to import anything in OSM. Okay, at this point, how can you start organizing your own Mapathon? First of all, be sure you are familiar with all the tools, in particular the editors used to map, and with the use of these editors for humanitarian purposes. This page is meant to give you a series of links to wikis, to tutorials, videos, and a lot of material that is really great to get started with these editors. Then, well, the tool that you really need to learn, but it's really easy, is the tasking manager. Tyler has briefly explained the tasking manager. This is the hot tool that manages the collaborative mapping of an area. The idea is very simple. There is a mapping project or a mapping task that is subdivided into small subtasks so that users can work independently by mapping different areas. So the idea is that in few time, if a lot of volunteers are working, an area that maybe needs some urgent mapping can be mapped. Okay, so once you are familiar with all these tools, what should you do to organize a Mapathon? First of all, you need to go on the tasking manager and choose a task. You can choose the task you want, but it is also useful to get in touch with some hot or missing maps member in order to understand and to know if there is some area in the world, some tasks that really need some immediate mapping. So if there is a strong need of contribution in a specific area. It is also good to register your event in order to make it appear on the Missing Maps website by simply filling this form. And I also suggest you to add your event on the general wiki page that lists all the OSM related events, simply this one. At that point, you can even think to the venue, the place where your Mapathon will happen. So find a suitable venue, be sure that there is a projector if you plan to show something to the audience, sockets, and most important, a good Wi-Fi, because it is likely that you will have a lot of people using Wi-Fi. If you really need to know in advance the number of people that will come to your Mapathon, you can think to set up a public event with registration. For instance, I used Eventbrite more than once, and it is a good tool. It is free, so you can use it. But the most important thing is this one at the end. Advertise your Mapathon. Of course, try to use all the channels that you have, emails, mailing lists, websites, social networks. Of course, as many people, you should try to reach as many people as you can. And finally, optional but great, you can try to get in touch in advance with some member of hot or missing maps and plan a streaming presentation. This is very useful because it gives really a great level of motivation, of excitement to the participant, because they see on the screen someone that is really important, that is really famous, that is really popular, and this really helps for the success of the Mapathon. Here you have an example, or actually a list of most of the Mapathons that we had at Politecnico di Milano during the last year. I want to say that all these blue text are links, so when you get the slides, if you click on each of them, you will you will have all the details about these mapathons. So basically, we had some traditional outdoor mapping parties. For instance, this one that we organized during Foscurge in Europe 2015, last year. We had some mapping for emergencies, like the one after the Nepal earthquake last year, and some weeks ago after the earthquakes in Japan and Ecuador. And we had a lot of, let's say, generic humanitarian mapathons, some of which with children. Some pictures. This is a photo that I like because, okay, there's me, there's Maria, but there's Tyler on the screen because Tyler kindly agreed to give this Skype presentation, and it was really great. There were almost 100 people, and it was really great to have Tyler at the beginning of this mapathon to introduce hot and missing maps and the purpose of what we were doing that day. This is, again, me with our students at university after the Mapathon for Japan and after the earthquake in Japan and Ecuador, during the last Mapathon that we had. And this is a photo that you have also seen in Aldo's presentation, taken from one of the Mapathons with children that we had. A very, very good event, as Aldo explained, from many perspectives, technical, educational, and social, and so on. Then, don't think that as a Mapathon organizer, your role ends when the Mapathon ends. There are a couple of things that are really good to do after the Mapathon. First of all, be sure to find a way to collect the feedback of the participants. It's always very good to get a feedback from them. So you can prepare a questionnaire, a paper questionnaire, or an online survey, or you can even ask participants to be from the Missing Maps project. The purpose is also to get the contact information from the participants so that next time you can invite them, you can contact them for your next Mapathon. Also, very important is to get a measure of the quality of the mapping. So maybe together with other people, try to go over some tasks, maybe randomly on the tasking manager, and try to see what happened. Try to see if the mapping was sufficiently good or not. And if you find something that is not good, if you find some very poor mapping, try to understand why. Try to understand what happened. Was it your fault? Did you maybe need more instructions? I mean, need to provide more instructions to the participants or not? I mean, ask yourself, which was the problem? Why do I see this poor mapping? And try to contact the user and try to understand what went wrong. Thank all the participants for joining the Mapathon, and then you can even use this tool. Okay, that is the same in this slide. This is a great tool from Pascal Nace that allows you to get a measure of, to quantify actually the mapping that was done. This tool works in a very simple way. It simply filters the comments that you have to insert together with any changes to the database. This filters all the comments by a specific string that is in the comments. So this means that before the Mapathon, you should tell participants to use in all their comments this specific, a specific hashtag. In this case, we use this Mapathon GeoLab to identify that all these changes came from our Mapathon. So at the end, what you get from this web page is some statistics, like you see the number of contributors who made edits, the number of map changes, the number of change set, and so on. Just before finishing, a couple of words about the validation of the mapping in the case of children. I would like to say, as Aldo also said, that the general quality, the general results were really good, and that the errors, the mistakes made by children were in a great, in a great percentage, the same mistakes that normal people, so even not children, make when they use the tasking manager, when they map OpenStreetMap. They are the typical mistakes done by beginners, actually. So let's have a look at these mistakes. For instance, the wrong identification of the shapes of the building. For instance, if you can see this building is partially covered by vegetation. So what the children did is simply to draw the visible outline of the building. So they didn't understand that this building should be a rectangle, but it is covered by the tree. This is also a very typical mistake. Another mistake is the non-orthogonalization of buildings. There is a simple button that you need to press in order to square the buildings, to orthogonalize the building. Sometimes a lot of people forget to do that. So you have the outline of the building, but they are not rectangles. Another mistake is the use of the wrong tag. For instance, this was a building, but it has been tagged as a military area. You can also find this mistake a lot of times in the hot tasks. This is simply because people forget to look at the area, or they need it automatically, and they do not care sometimes about the tag. Also, another mistake is the double mapping of some geometries, in this case buildings. This typically happens when you are mapping outside the areas, outside your subtasks. So you are mapping in another task where the buildings have been already mapped by someone else, and the result is this double mapping. Finally, the most common mistake was this one, and was that children a lot of times marked as complete a subtask that was not complete at all. This is also a typical mistake, but probably this was the most difficult thing for children to understand, even if we explain it many times. So this is where we will start to work in our next Mapathon with children. So that's the end of the presentation. Thank you very much. I hope I gave you some suggestions, some resources, some hints about how to get started with OSM and with OSM editors, and how to organize your own Mapathon. Feel free to contact me, and I'll be happy to help you. Thank you very much.